January 2026 was supposed to feel like a clean slate. A quiet reset. A moment where old whispers finally stayed buried. For Meghan Markle, the assumption appeared to be that the past was sealed off, the dots would never reconnect, and long-circulated rumors would fade into background noise. But instead of disappearing, those whispers resurfaced louder than ever, not through tabloids or fringe blogs, but through the voice of someone who doesn't play by traditional media rules. Joe Rogan didn't make accusations, didn't present documents, didn't claim insider proof. He did something far more disruptive. He asked questions. Questions about yachts, elite social circles, powerful intermediaries, and connections no one with his reach had dared to discuss openly before. And once those questions hit the biggest podcast audience on the planet, the reset was over. Joe Rogan isn't a journalist, a tabloid editor, or a royal correspondent, and that's exactly why he's dangerous to image-driven figures. With an estimated audience approaching 200 million listeners across platforms, his reach rivals entire media ecosystems. He doesn't rely on access journalism, doesn't need palace briefings, and doesn't soften language to preserve relationships. When something doesn't add up to him, he says it out loud, and when he says it, the internet amplifies it instantly. That independence is what separates Rogan from gossip culture. He can't be quietly pressured, frozen out, or leaned on through traditional channels, which is why even unverified discussions on his platform carry a different weight. And when he starts circling a topic, people pay attention not because he's declaring truth, but because he's highlighting inconsistencies others avoid. This wasn't a sudden obsession. Joe Rogan has questioned Meghan Markle's public narrative for years, often in blunt, unsympathetic terms. Back in 2020, he openly mocked the idea that Prince Harry's life was being reshaped into a Hollywood-style brand, joking that endorsements and celebrity positioning would inevitably follow. Later developments made those comments feel less like satire and more like prediction. Then in 2023, Rogan revisited Meghan's remarks about feeling objectified during her time on Deal or No Deal, responding with sarcasm and little patience, questioning what expectations realistically existed in that role. The pattern here matters. Rogan doesn't frame her as a victim or a villain. He frames her as someone curating a narrative, and that lens is what led him to start questioning older, uncomfortable rumors rather than dismissing them outright. The yacht rumors didn't originate with Joe Rogan. They've circulated online for years, mostly dismissed as messy speculation with no mainstream traction. Bloggers, anonymous posters, and fringe commentators floated claims suggesting Meghan once moved within high-end yacht party scenes connected to wealthy power players. None of it stuck, largely because no major voice touched it. That changed when Rogan reportedly began referencing long-discussed claims tied to elite networking and social pipelines that overlapped with disgraced figures from the Epstein era. He didn't say she was there. He didn't say it happened. He asked why these stories existed at all, why they followed similar patterns, and why no one with influence had ever seriously examined them. That distinction matters because questions don't require proof to spread, only curiosity. One name keeps resurfacing whenever these discussions emerge: Marcus Anderson. His role as a senior figure at Soho House and as the person widely credited with introducing Meghan to Prince Harry is well documented. What Rogan fixates on isn't the introduction itself, but the confidence behind it. How did Anderson know Meghan was the right match for a prince? What kind of relationship existed before Harry entered the picture? Soho House isn't just a social club. It's a controlled networking environment designed to facilitate high-level introductions away from public scrutiny. Anderson's career has revolved around deciding who gains access to whom, and Rogan keeps pointing out that when someone has held that kind of gatekeeping power for decades, coincidences deserve closer inspection. One of the most referenced details in these discussions is Meghan's documented invitation to Yacht Week 2016 in Croatia. That part isn't disputed. What the invitation means, however, is where speculation begins. Yacht Week has been described by major publications as a high-energy party environment where wealthy men and attractive guests mingle under unspoken social dynamics. An invitation doesn't confirm attendance. Attendance doesn't imply behavior. Rogan is careful to stay in that lane. His point isn't what happened on yachts, but why access existed at all. Why was a cable TV actress moving comfortably in spaces typically reserved for ultra-wealthy circles? That access, not activity, is the recurring question. The moment Prince Andrew's name enters the conversation, everything intensifies. Andrew's association with Jeffrey Epstein is public record, and any perceived overlap with that era carries immediate weight. Claims from authors like Kirby Summers suggest Meghan may have crossed paths with Andrew through overlapping elite networks long before meeting Harry. Summers has alleged that unpublished photos exist from the early 2000s showing Meghan on a yacht in Thailand, where Andrew was reportedly present. Fact-checkers have rightly pointed out that viral images online often misidentify other women as Meghan, and that distinction is critical. Summers insists she's referring to different images entirely, ones that major outlets allegedly refuse to publish. Rogan repeatedly highlights this gap, not to confirm the claim, but to ask why it's never been investigated. This is where the story becomes less about Meghan and more about the media itself. When tabloids avoid a topic, people assume it lacks credibility. When every outlet avoids it, curiosity grows. Defamation law, royal pressure, and legal risk create powerful incentives for silence, especially when wealthy and influential figures are involved. Rogan openly challenges that silence, questioning why no serious investigative journalist has attempted to verify or disprove these claims definitively. Silence, in the modern media landscape, doesn't kill stories. It feeds them. Accusations can be denied. Evidence can be challenged. Questions linger. Rogan's strategy, intentional or not, places Meghan in a no-win scenario. Responding risks amplifying speculation. Staying silent allows one-sided conversations to dominate. He isn't declaring guilt. He's laying out patterns, access points, and unanswered gaps, then stepping back. Audiences draw their own conclusions, and conclusions formed independently are far harder to undo. Meghan's usual crisis management tools don't work here. Legal threats, press access control, and reputation management rely on centralized media systems. Rogan operates outside of all of them. Any attempt to silence him would only validate his narrative about powerful people avoiding scrutiny. Reports suggest her team is furious but constrained, knowing that confrontation would explode publicly while silence keeps the conversation alive. It's a strategic stalemate, and Rogan knows it. Joe Rogan's framing doesn't just affect Meghan. It reframes Prince Harry entirely. Instead of a fairy tale rescue, the story shifts toward ambition, networking, and calculated proximity to power. Rogan has openly suggested Harry looks less like a partner and more like a final outcome in a long social climb. If yacht-era connections or elite overlaps were ever confirmed, Harry's image would take a hit that no amount of memoirs could repair. Even unverified speculation plants doubt, and doubt erodes trust. Soho House thrives on discretion. No photos, no recordings, no leaks. That secrecy is the product. Rogan repeatedly emphasizes that secrecy doesn't imply wrongdoing, but it does shield powerful dynamics from scrutiny. When introductions shape careers, relationships, and access to royalty, the mechanics matter. Anderson's role symbolizes a larger system where ambition meets opportunity behind closed doors, and Rogan wants that system examined, not defended. Yacht rumors existed for years without impact because they stayed fringe. Rogan changed that by placing them in front of a massive audience without presenting them as facts. That approach ensures the conversation doesn't burn out. Each unanswered question invites another. Each silence feels louder. And because Rogan revisits topics rather than abandoning them, this won't simply disappear with the next news cycle. Joe Rogan didn't accuse Meghan Markle of anything. He did something far more disruptive. He asked why no one else would ask. In a media environment built on narrative control, unanswered questions are corrosive. Whether these rumors are baseless or grounded in truth almost becomes secondary to the fact that millions are now openly discussing them. Once curiosity replaces dismissal, there's no rewind button. The real issue isn't what happened on yachts or in elite rooms.